Marsh like?
Brandon Marsh is a nature reserve, and so it has lots of different habitats. For example, here it's called an orchard, but as you can see, it has got lots of ground cover, such as these teasels and so on. We've also got lots of lakes where they have birds and bird hides, and they have different sorts of woodland and grassland as well for the butterflies.
So what kind of things grow in the orchard?
As you can see, there are different types of fruit. Here we have what looks like apple, we have got cherry, and on the ground there are plenty of brambles which would produce the blackberries in the autumn.
So what inspired you mainly to become a volunteer for sanctuaries?
Well, it's sort of been on and off because I've been at university, but generally because it's one of the main ones in Coventry, so as I live towards the city centre, it sort of makes sense that this is quite a close area to come and volunteer, and there's so many different habitats as well and so many different things you can get involved with. It's something I enjoy doing generally.
So what's your favourite part of the sanctuary, like your favourite thing to get involved with?
Well, survey force really, because you get to up close and personal with nature, but you're not restricted to a particular habitat or a particular area, because every 2 weeks on the Monday you go out with a team, and today we're here studying grasslands, so usually we've got a couple of experts or a few people that really know their stuff or have been doing this for a long time, and there's the rest of us, and then we come over, have a look at an area, pick out sort of at this point what plants we can sort of see, whether they're positive or negative indicators of the habitat. If they're positive and growing well, that's good for the habitat. If they're negative, that's not so good for the wildlife in that habitat, and that can then be looked at later on.
And having worked indoors for all my life, I wanted to get outdoors, so I started volunteering 2 days a week with the Trust on Nature Force, the force that actually goes out and works on the various reserves around the county.
It's a group within the Warwickshire Wildlife Trust, and we usually come out into the fields. There are something like about 500 volunteers for Warwickshire Wildlife. There's probably about 50 or so which work for Nature Force. So what we do is we come out into the green sites around Warwickshire, and there's 50 to 60 of those. So we look after greenery, some of the rivers. We do local habitats for voles, maybe for a few otters, and then there's also the plant life.
Fixed fences. We maintain footpaths. In fact, here some of the lads are strimming with brush cutters. We fix gates, and in the winter time, when the birds have fledged and there are no nests, we maintain hedgerows.
What are your personal benefits from volunteering?
Well, that's the old "it's good for the CV," so you know that crack. But also, it's quite enjoyable actually to get out into nature and just sort of help out.
I've always liked wildlife. I've always liked bird watching right from when I was a kid, and I've always wanted to get back into it and always had aspirations of working in this field at some point.
Right, so for anyone who's wanting to become a volunteer, like, do you have to have any necessary experience, or are you just willing to take anyone on board?
No, they just need some energy and a willingness to get their hands dirty if it's volunteering on reserves. But yeah, they just need to be keen, and the volunteers, they do span a large range of ages. Lots of things make it quite special, not least the wonderful volunteers that we have. They're an inspiration. They allow us to do so much more than we would be able to do without them, and they help in every aspect of what the Trust does.
So how long have you volunteered for?
Well, I've been a volunteer at the Trust since the Trust began in 1970, which is now 45 years, which is a long time, isn't it? But it's still enormous fun,
So yes, it's I've done a lot of things with the Trust.
So are there any difficulties that the Trust is facing, like fund-wise, or is there any sort of problems like littering and stuff like that?
We always have worries about money, because we always have bigger eyes than our budget matches. So we want to do things, we want to buy things in order to conserve nature, and we don't have the funds, so we have to look for funds, which are sometimes it's done through appeals to members. Sometimes it's done by applying to all kinds of bodies who give money to organisations such as ours, and that's how we acquire money. So we beg, borrow and steal, really.
Well, first of all, I think the message would be follow something that you're passionate about, because certainly with volunteering, because it's something you don't get paid for, you have to do it off your own back, and certainly when the weather's not too kind, it's got to be something you're going to want to get out of bed and go and do. And for me, coming out here today, even when it's raining, I don't mind. You get a bit wet, you're not made of sugar, you're not going to melt, so you get out there, you put your boots on, you go jump in some puddles. So first of all, find something that you're really passionate about, and if you're passionate about the environment, working with either older groups or young people or anybody, you can come along to the Wildlife Trust. They're always really happy, really encouraging to have volunteers. Certainly from my experience of being here, I've had a couple of meetings, and then like I said, this is my first day. They've been fantastic, really supportive, really keen to get me on board and offer me some